Hey guys, I just received a video just the other day of an activist, a former Merck employee turned activist against mandatory vaccinations, who was speaking out against SB 277 and a lot of the harassment that she's been going through. It's some pretty hardcore stuff. I need to show you this video, tell you about her story, and then we need to share that so that everyone can see not only the depths that these people who run these corporations would go to silence any kind of opposition or free thinking about what you put inside your body, but also just to show you how late in the game it is for them. More people are speaking out and they're getting desperate. This is Brandy Vaughan. She was giving a speech here, and she's seen in several other videos against SB 277. She's a former Merck employee. She sold Vioxx for a number of years, and once she figured out what Vioxx was actually doing to people, that it was killing people, she quit, and she speaks out now against Merck. And we were sent this video, which I'm about to show you, because she's been undergoing some pretty serious harassment ever since she started becoming an activist for this. And I contacted Andrew Leibich, and he's been kind enough to allow us to show this video. So I want you to take a look at this. This is what they've been doing to this woman since she started speaking out.
Hi, I'm Brandy Vaughan, and for those of you who don't know me, I have been an activist speaking out against SB 277 here in California.
Wow, what happened to our rights?
Yeah.
How did I sit back and let this happen?
I knew I was going to take some heat for it, but I wasn't quite sure how much heat. And so I'm making this video today to describe the intimidation tactics that have been used against me to try and silence me. The first one happened when I was coming back from the Capitol, a rally in Sacramento against SB 277.
We're not going away! We're not going away! We're not going away!
And I came home with a friend to my hide key being on my doorstep, open to the key. And the story behind this was a year ago when I bought my house, I hid that deep in the bushes, and 6 months ago I had looked for it because I thought, well, it's probably not a good idea to have a key to my house right outside my door. I couldn't find it, but when I came back from Sacramento, that one time, it was about 2 months ago, that the key was on my doorstep, open to the key. That day I had my locks changed, and I called an alarm service, and I installed a $3,000 alarm system 2 days later. So what happened apparently is someone opened the door, the front door, went through the front door, picked the lock, and my alarm went off, and they immediately disarmed it with the master code, which nobody had but me. I made sure nobody else had that code. According to the alarm company, at 3:45 in the morning, somebody entered in through the front door, the alarm went off. They disabled the alarm by putting in the master code right away into the panel. And then at 3:46 in the morning, my hallway monitor sensor went off. So someone went down the hall. And then at 3:48, someone opened my dining room window and then closed it right away. And then if you notice, the dining room window actually faces out towards the backyard, which is much more private than the front door, which they used to enter that time. And then they went over to the keypad, entered the code again, and then left through the front door at 3:49. After the incident, I talked to some security experts who have actually done intimidation for corporations, and they explained a few things. They said, well, A, they were probably tapping your place, so everything I say and do in here is listened to, if not watched. And then opening of the back window, because it's a much more private way to get in for future reference, for future visits. When I did return home, and the police came in and made sure nobody was here, and then I came in after the alarm was set off, after the break-in. And what I did notice was they had left this window unlocked, like this. And before I left for Sacramento, all of the windows and doors were locked, double locked actually. I went through twice to make sure that they were locked. So after that happened, I didn't really feel comfortable sleeping in my house again because of course they could come in and disarm my alarm whenever they wanted. There wasn't really another way to secure the system. I changed the code, but again, who knows how they got the code in the first place. The security expert is pretty convinced that the house is tapped, my phone is being listened to, my conversation, my text messages, and then my computer, both my computers as well. The next thing that happened actually was with my computer. So one of the things that the police wanted to know was if anything was taken in the break-in. Of course, nothing was because they weren't here to take anything. I did have a computer here in a hiding spot, and when the police were here, I did actually come and look to make sure the computer was still here, and it's here above the microwave is its hiding spot. It's not a place anyone would know to look for the computer, and it's not, you know, especially in being here in only 4 minutes. 2 days later, after that happened, after the break-in happened, I walked into my place to move some stuff out, and the computer was taken from its hiding place and put in the middle of the floor. And so I came back home to pick up some stuff. I wasn't staying here any longer. And that message was there, which was obviously very scary because clearly somebody had been listening in, if not watching, as to where the computer was. So after that, I decided that it would be best to get out of town, and I left town for a couple of weeks and really went off the grid for a good part of that. The day that I came back, I had a friend come with me, and him and I arrived at my place and found a ladder open right in front of my door, looking into the windows, the bedroom window. Now, this is my ladder, but this ladder lives in the garage. So it was clear that somebody had accessed the garage, brought out the ladder through the side of my house, opened it, looking right up into the window, and this happens to be the only window that I had blinds open. So that was quite a message. The security experts said, wow, what a better message than to say we're watching you. And this actually happened the day that I came back into town. So they clearly knew that, well, it happened the night before. They clearly knew when I was coming back. The neighbor who was feeding my dogs came over after half an hour after we found the ladder, and she asked, so what's with the ladder? And I said, I don't know. I mean, I didn't put it there. And she said, well, it wasn't there yesterday. So it means that it happened the night before I came back into town after 2 weeks. So clearly they are watching. The next incident was just 2 days later, and that's in the garage. This Buddha was on the floor. Normally the Buddha is pretty heavy. It was on here on top of the dog cage, holding the towel to cover it up at night for the dogs. So it was taken off of here, and there's really no way it could have fallen because, I mean, it's actually really heavy, and if it had fallen, it would have fallen, you know, some different way. But I walked in and I found it right there on the ground. The pictures were also knocked over. So then 2 days later, I noticed it first through the kitchen window, and it's not something I have ever seen before, but there is a duck on my table. And when I talked to the security experts, I said, I don't understand the duck. And then it came to me that I had been on my phone having a lot of conversations about people asking me, you know, are you staying at your house? What are you going to do? And I used the term repeatedly, well, I'm not staying at my house. I feel like a sitting duck because they can get in at any time. And, you know, I'm a sitting duck. And so that was actually quite disturbing to come home to. Now I have a duck. I have never seen it before. It's not mine. Nobody else is having access that would bring a duck. It's a clear message that, again, they are watching me, and it's quite scary.
Yeah, that stuff is very scary, and that's the kind of stuff that these people will do. That is how low these pieces of garbage will sink to try and break in and intimidate and harass somebody for their First Amendment rights to speak out against this. I do think that the reason this person's being targeted so hard is because she's a former Merck employee, which gives her more legitimacy in the eyes of the people than just if any person gets up in front of a microphone and starts speaking out about this stuff. But on top of that, this kind of stuff is sadly not uncommon with this type of harassment. I mean, we went and spoke to a security expert as well because we've had some issues, and what we were told is that you pretty much have to get rid of your phone at this point. If you think your phone has been bugged, those programs can hide on your phone. They are so small and so hard to find that it's basically, it would take less time if you just bought a new phone, a brand new phone. We were also told that a lot of people, what they like to do in cases where they think that they are going to be repeatedly targeted for harassment is to just simply get the cheap, Cricket phone or whatever, the throwaway phones that you can buy and keep for a little while and then get a new one. I know that's a real pain, and they don't have as many features as some of the smarter phones that people like to use, but if you're in a situation like this and you really think that all your communication is being bugged, that's one of the things to do. As far as her house being broken into and things being moved around, in those cases, that's usually the beginning stage of the harassment. That is when you want to make yourself scarce. I mean, I know it sucks to have to sell your house and move in a situation like that, but at least don't be there as much as possible if you can't do that. Make it really inconvenient, as our friend Popeye told us from down the rabbit hole. Make it very inconvenient for someone to mess with you, and that's what she needs to do. If I was this woman, I would get rid of anything I had that had been connected to the internet, and I would also not eat any of the food. If there's food being kept in that house in any way, I wouldn't eat it. I wouldn't even leave my dogs there at that point. I wouldn't, because if the people would go as far to break into your house multiple times to scare you, I would not doubt them as being the kind of people who would harm your dog to get back at you, to intimidate, threaten, and scare you, or possibly worse. I mean, there are instances like this where the first thing that happens is they move the furniture around to show you they've been there. Then the second thing that happens is you eat something that's been left in the cabinet, and the next thing you know, you're waking up the next day. Okay, and you don't know what happened to you during that time. And pets are fair game in these kinds of situations. These people are sick. These are sick people with sick bosses. I mean, look at the stuff that these companies will do to us. Okay? So do they care about harming an individual person? No, they're harming millions of people. They do not care. So I'm really worried about this woman. And again, the vaccine industry is a multi-billion-dollar industry, okay? This article here by propaganda pusher Atlantic, who's trying to tell you that you really got to take your vaccines because it's just so good for you, is also letting you know that the vaccine market is $24 billion. That is a tremendous... I know we talk about billions and trillions these days like it's not that big of a deal, since we live in a world where the derivatives market is what, like quadrillions now. It's ridiculous. But $24 billion is a lot of money at stake if a lot of people stop taking their vaccinations. People like this woman, they're dangerous to the system. And this is how far the system will go. The system will go so far as to pimp out its own grandchildren in its propaganda fear-mongering campaigns. And the system will go so far as to try to terrorize a woman simply for exercising her First Amendment rights to speak out against what she deems to be tyrannical against our medical freedom and dangerous to our health. I just want everyone to pass on this woman's story and what she's going through. And I want us to rally around her at this time because I feel like her life is in danger. I mean, this is very dangerous what they're doing. These people are in it for the money, and they will do whatever it takes to silence the opposition. That's why we have to make our voices heard louder than ever. So I'm going to put a link to the original video of this woman here telling her story. And please share that with everyone. Please share that video. It's up on Andrew Leibich's YouTube. Please share it. Because everybody needs to realize this is the level that they would go to. And that's why we got to be louder now than ever.
So after all of these intimidation tactics, it's very hard to feel safe and secure, but I am not going to go away. I mean, I'm not going to be silenced because these are important issues and we need to expose what's really going on behind the mandatory vaccination bills. It has nothing to do with public health. It has everything to do with profit. And I hope that we can all continue this fight. We may have lost the battle, but we still have a war to win. And hopefully by documenting this intimidation, they won't be able to get away with it in the future with me and with anyone else who speaks out.
There is some evil going on here. We need to fight it.
And 6 months ago, I had looked for it because I thought, well, it's probably not a good idea to have a key to my house right outside my door. I couldn't find it, but when I came back from Sacramento, that one time, it was about 2 months ago, that the key was on my doorstep, open to the key. That day, I had my locks changed, and I called an alarm service, and I installed a $3,000 alarm system 2 days later. So what happened, apparently, is someone...
To show you how late in the game it is for them. More people are speaking out, and they're getting desperate. This is Brandy Vaughan. She was giving a speech here, and she's seen in several other videos against SB 277. She's a former Merck employee. She sold Vioxx for a number of years, and once she figured out what Vioxx was actually doing to people, that it was killing people, she quit. And she speaks out now against Merck. And we were sent this video, which I'm about to show you, because she's been undergoing some pretty serious harassment ever since she started becoming an activist. Hey guys, I just received a video just the other day of an activist, a former Merck employee turned activist against mandatory vaccinations, who was speaking out against SB 277 and a lot of the harassment that she's been going through. It's some pretty hardcore stuff. I need to show you this video, tell you about her story, and then we need to share that so that everyone can see not only the depths that these people who run these corporations would go to silence any kind of opposition or free thinking about what you put inside your body, but also just to
describe the intimidation tactics that have been used against me to try and silence me. The first one happened when I was coming back from the Capitol rally in Sacramento against SB 277.
We're not going away! We're not going away! We're not going away!
And I came home with a friend to my hide key being on my doorstep, open to the key. And the story behind this was a year ago when I bought my house, I hid that deep in the bushes.
Activist for this. And I contacted Andrew Liebich, and he's been kind enough to allow us to show this video. So I want you to take a look at this. This is what they've been doing to this woman since she started speaking out.
Hi, I'm Brandy Vaughan, and for those of you who don't know me, I have been an activist speaking out against SB 277 here in California.
Wow, what happened to our rights?
Yeah.
How did I sit back and let this happen?
I knew I was going to take some heat for it, but I wasn't quite sure how much heat. And so I'm making this video today